7 o'clock.
Good evening. My name is Tina Sursted, and I'm a proud member of the League of Women Voters, Dakota County. I would like to welcome you to the Candidate Forum this evening. This event is being broadcast and recorded via Zoom. As always at our events, we want to remind you that League of Women Voters, Dakota County is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences policy through education and advocacy. We never endorse parties or candidates. And now I would like to introduce our moderator, Mary Rice. Mary is a trained moderator, an attorney, and a past president of League of Women Voters, Bloomington. We're honored to have Mary moderating our forum tonight.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome. We wish to thank Burnsville Community Television for their willingness to help the League to broadcast and record this event. The League of Women Voters does not endorse candidates for office, and the views expressed tonight are those of the candidates and not the League. So the format for tonight is this. Candidates will have 3 minutes for their opening statement. Candidates will then have 2 minutes to respond to each question. The order in which candidates answer questions will rotate so that each has an opportunity to respond in a different order. All questions submitted by email were reviewed by a committee of the League of Women Voters members. The timekeeper tonight is Lynn Lewis, a member of the League of Women Voters of Dakota County. The timer on the screen indicates to the candidates how much time you have left in your answer. A stop sign will display at the conclusion of your 3-minute or 2-minute segment. We ask the candidates to respect these time limits. It's extremely important. If you don't, I may mute your microphone if you exceed the allowed answer time. Candidates will have 2 minutes at the end of the forum for the closing statement. The forum concludes at 8:30 p.m. The election for ISD191 is for 3 positions. Candidates are in alphabetical order: Hodan Ahmed, Tony Connor, Eric Miller, Sue Said, and Anna Werb. Now it's time for opening statements, and we will begin with Hodan Ahmed.
Thank you for inviting us. My name is Hodan Ahmed, and I have lived at District 191 for past 80 years. I have 3 kids who attend at 191. I work 191 for 3 years. I also volunteer at 10 years. So I have a 13 years experience in working with the students and families. Also, I'm an advocate for another district, and I'm very well connected to my community, which is the community families, teachers, principals, and the superintendent of 191. Thank you.
All right, next is Tony Connor.
Hello, my name is Tony Connor, as she said. Thanks for viewing with us today. I'll tell you a little background about me. I grew up in South Minneapolis, where I was lucky enough to be raised in a diverse neighborhood, where I got a chance to witness families of all different cultures. I found this very interesting. I continued to be interested in my childhood experience of different cultures by pursuing babysitting, becoming a licensed daycare provider when my children were young, and taking child health and guidance courses in college. When my sons became preteens, my husband and I became foster parents, which I continued on about 11 years later. When my kids were starting to enter middle school, I became a very involved parent in school functions, and then that's also when I was hired as a paraprofessional in the education in that school district. At that time, I got firsthand experience of the needs of children, not just special education children, but children that didn't have a title, that also was a large population of students. And then I also recognize what a tough job teachers have in trying to meet the needs of all their students. Many kids these days, I feel, are struggling due to emotional, health, or economic issues that distract them from learning. Working in 2 middle schools last year, I thought, I think we can try to do better in closing this achievement gap with a few ideas and additions to the school curriculum. And that is my main base. That's my main focus, middle and high school students, and teaching them some skills and tools to better help them be able to conquer some of the interruptions that interfere with their learning.
Thank you. Eric Miller?
Thank you and good evening. My name is Eric Miller, and I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event this evening, and I'd like to thank Mary Rice for moderating. Thank you to the viewers for watching and taking time out of your evening to learn a little bit more about this race. I am the only incumbent in this race, having served my first term, coming to the end of my first term right now, with 3.5 years on this school board. I live in Savage with my wife and 3 children, and all 3 are within the school district. The oldest is at Eagle Ridge Middle School, and the 2 youngest are at Harriet Bishop. Personally, I have an undergraduate in business at Augsburg College, where I graduated summa cum laude, and I have a master's in business administration and MBA from the Carlson School of Management at the University of Minnesota. I've worked for a number of corporate organizations, companies around the Twin Cities, large and small, in various strategy and corporate finance and operation roles. I currently work for an organization based right here in Burnsville. My perspective on this race is that you do get 3 votes, as was mentioned earlier, and I'm asking for 1 of them. I'm asking because I believe that experience is important. In the time on this board, I have been through more than, quite frankly, most board members go through in any term of their service. And so we've been through a number of superintendent replacements. We've been through budget conversations. We've been through negotiations. We've had to close some schools. And of course, the global pandemic, which we're in currently. This is a relatively young board. I am currently the vice chair of the board. And if should I return to the board, will more than likely be the chair of the board. So experience is the argument I'm making for my candidacy. I believe it's important to bring new voices. I'm very happy that we have people running and that bring new perspectives to the table. I just think that 1 of the votes should be at least to maintain some consistency. Thank you again for joining us this evening, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thank you. Sue Saeed?
Hi, my name is Suad Saeed. I go by Sue. Thank you for having us here, and for the viewers, thank you for taking time out of your middle of the week evening to join us. I currently reside in Burnsville. I grew up here. I graduated from Burnsville High School in 2005. I currently have 4 kids in the district. Some in elementary school and some in junior high, and one over at the Diamond Head Education Center. I am a social worker. I've been doing social work for the past 10 plus years. It's a job that I really enjoy. It gives me an opportunity to really help people, but also meet them where they're at, and give them the resources and the guidance and the support that they need to maintain or meet self-sufficiency. Right now, I'm working for state of Minnesota. I work for DEED, which is the Department of Economics and Employment. And I decided to run because I know that it takes a lot of energy, but yet being able to give my experience as a social worker and doing home visiting in Dakota County, where I was able to work with birth all the way to 5 years old, and really get them prepared for school. It does start at a young age, and if we're able to kind of really connect and partner with families we can have a lot more success in closing the student achievement gap. But then also having that partnership with parents really makes them kind of understand the decisions behind our education system. And once teachers and parents can connect that way, we're able to succeed in all ways. And I want to be able to do that, grow that, and foster that with our children and also the educators in our community. I do believe in giving back in the community. That is why I do the type of work that I do in my community. I also try my very best to be that voice for those who are the unheard. And a lot of times my mouth can get me in trouble, but at the end of the day, I know that I'm helping the person that needs help.
Thank you. Anna Werb.
I'd like to thank also the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. And good evening, voters and community members. My name's Anna Werb, and I've been in the district. I moved here 13 years ago when my eldest daughter, who is now 24, was going into the 6th grade. And she's been through William Byrne Elementary, Metcalf Junior High, and Burnsville High School. And now I have 2 younger children who are currently enrolled in William Byrne's Virtual Academy. Over the past year and a half, I've been immersed into PTO, and I've learned a lot from that experience. And it's opened my heart to just how a small PTO can grow into a large PTO. And we can glean from the resources of just parents and teachers working together and grow our family as a community within just our elementary school. And that spirit had, grown inside me to feel like I could do even more by running for school board. I also am a over 22-year employee of a nonprofit health carrier in the area. And in working there, I've learned a lot over the years of just how important racial equity and health equity is, and learning about social determinants of health. And education is a huge factor that plays a role later in life, and how later in life that can affect someone's health. And getting an education is number one. So when I look around this community and all the students that we have and the diversity, I believe that what we have is unique and it's important, and I want to see it thrive. And I feel that it's in my heart and my duty to step in and bring together the community and see how we can work collaboratively to, turn around some of the negative that we've had, and, get everybody back to where we can be, and I know we can be as a community and as a district, and that's what's driven me to run for school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Now it's time for the questions for the candidates. As a reminder, candidates will have 2 minutes to respond. The first question will go first to Eric Miller. Here's the question. What motivates you to want to be a school board member?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm acutely aware of what it takes to be a school board member, having served now for 3.5 years. And my motivation has not changed. I like to tell a little story about when I was taking the very first class in my MBA. They had an introductory class that everybody was required to take, and the professor was talking about, you're about to begin this journey, you're going to gain a lot of skills, and you're going to learn a lot about running organizations, and you're going to be high demand when you come out. Companies and organizations are going to be interested in hiring you. And he said, and many of you, that's going to mean you're going to get paid a lot of money, you're going to go work at big companies. But he said, I want to remind you that nonprofit organizations need those same skill sets also. They need those same attention, and they need those same inputs. And that just stuck in the back of my head. And of course, at that point I set off and did my schoolwork. But when I got out, I kind of looked around and I said, there are things that I'd like to be able to help out with, and I feel like I have the capability of doing that. and I can either complain and go on social media and write notes and rant and rave, or I can roll up my sleeves and get involved. And I decided to get involved. And as others have mentioned, that path for me took coming through PTO. I was also involved heavily with PTO and being a PTO president over the years, and then ultimately decided to run for the school board. So for me, it's about service. I mean, I've served in nonprofit leadership roles outside of the school district. I've been a coach for youth sports. And I believe that if we can serve, we should do so. We should serve to the best of our abilities. And in doing so, I'm helping my community. But for me, the most important part is I'm teaching my children the value of service and then how important it is to help our community. Thank you.
Sue Said.
I really, so I've been thinking about this for a while. One of my mentors was a school board member a few years ago. Her name was Sandy. She was actually one of the counselors at the high school when I attended there. And years after that, we somehow became neighbors and we reconnected. And I just remember her just encouraging me to always step up, and you know, the fact that I went to social work was just to give back to the community and to also lend my voice to those who need it. So that is why I felt motivated this time around this year to really make that step. And she was one of the few people that I contacted first to let her know that I decided to run for school board. And it's just the encouragement that I have received in this community, whether it's from educators, whether it's from community members, family or friends. I think they seen it in me long before I seen it in myself. And so this was a good opportunity for me to kind of dive in. And given the fact that I've, work in social work, I've had many experience with children and families. This is another good reason for me to be able to just give my feedback, my leadership, and all the experience that I've gathered and put it towards my community, and especially the education system, which could always improve in many ways. And I know my district and our district has come a long way and is doing positive things. And I think it's a great time to join this movement.
Tony Connor.
Okay, thank you. What motivates me, again, is just the love and interest of children and of all cultures. And I feel, especially in this district, the children are a little bit not advocated for enough. And so I see a need, and working with them last year, I also saw a need, and I wanted to speak up. I want to be an advocate for children, as I have as a parent, and also as a foster parent, and then also as a paraprofessional in the school system and as an educational assistant. I've been advocating for children for years, and this is another way to continue to do that. I feel by working in the system all these years, I really have a good focus on what teachers need and what they're going through, and also the little lack of some of the needs that are not being met by the students. I believe overall Dakota County is one of the better counties as far as helping with students' education, but there's room for a lot of growth. And I see that need, and I want to continue to help advocate for children as I always have.
Thank you. Anna Werb.
So as I said, I'm very much aware of racial inequities and health inequities, and that was a big focus of mine. And I'm very much for students and how we can improve the landscape of our district for the students. And, that was my first motivation, was, creating a more robust racial equity policy in our district. That is, truly where this started for me. But, there's many more things that, I can see that, we can do better at. I think we have done many, many great things in our district, and we have many things to be proud of. But I think that there can always be a fresh set of ideas to come in and a new perspective that could maybe change things or the way things are looked at, that could maybe change the course of how the trajectory of our district and how it's going. So, but when you look at everything through a racial equity lens and a health equity lens, there's no way you cannot advance when those things are your focus, because those are things that focus solely on the child and getting everything equally, as you know, every student should, that it's the same across the board, no matter where they are from or what their background, it's the same. So that is, you know, that's what motivates me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Hodan Ahmed.
What is motivate me is we are well diverse district. And to closing the gap, we have to have everybody on the table. It doesn't matter how sympathetic you are and how, acknowledge for another diverse, a different community. You have to walk, unless you walk somebody's shoes, you don't understand their struggle and their need. So every community needs a representation. And because of that, that's why I decided to run, because we can't close the gap unless we have everybody on the table.
Thank you. Now for question number 2. And this question will go first to Stu Said. Here it is. What particular skills or experiences qualify you to serve as a school board member?
Well, thank you for asking the question. I think with the fact that I went to this district and I can see the changes that has been done over the years, and now having my own kids go to this district, I feel like with that experience, I can help bridge that communication that needs to happen again between our district and parents, or our district and community members, or our district admin, and also our educators. And I get to kind of experience both sides of how far our district has come. And I want to be able to bring that to the table. I also think with the work that I do, whether it was working at nonprofits or counties, and now working at the state, working with individuals, children, and families has always been my work, and that's what I'm good at. And that's why I didn't go to social work to be rich and make bucks. Everyone knows that when it comes to that field. But it's a passion that I have, and this is just another thing that I kind of want to add on my bucket list to do, because I know that I can give back in many ways with that experience that I have, but also learn from the people who have served in the board, and the fact that we're with technology the way it is right now, it's very easy to learn other districts in our nation and what they're doing different. How can we kind of take those strategies, those skills that they're implementing, and bring it here? So I think I'm very open to research. Research is my thing. I love reading books, and I think I can bring all that information as a school board member.
Eric Miller.
Well, thank you again for the question. As I have alluded to, I have a certain amount of experience already, and in addition to my education and my time on this board, I've also completed the Minnesota School Board Association's 4 levels of leadership training. These are off-site, daily long seminars that are required of school board members. And I'd like to remind everybody that while we should focus on issues like the achievement gap and equity in our schools, these are driving things that everybody are very passionate about. At the end of the day, we also are running a large organization. It's one of the largest employers in the city of Burnsville. It's a $175 million organization, has over 1,300 employees. And I have an extensive background working in the large corporate environments. But, and so, that's important to remember. At at the end of it, it's experience, and I have an extensive amount of background and experience in working with school board. Thank you.
Anna Werb.
So I believe I have a unique set of skills that comes from my background working in the healthcare industry. I believe I bring that health equity lens in that's very unique. Plus, I work with large group employers and their health benefits. So when it comes to negotiating health benefits, I actually have a little bit of expertise in that area. I also have taken different courses regarding leadership and communications and skills that require, different things within a corporate organization that, I've taken through my work, as well as being on a diversity and inclusion work group, a solidarity work group, and just multitudes of volunteer work that I've done through my work. So just with that skill set, I bring, I think, a lot of attributes that'll be beneficial to being on a school board, as well as already being a PTO member, which I truly enjoy. I mean, it's just great to, be able to, have that interaction with the teachers and get feedback from them and already kind of understand what their needs are.
Hodan Ahmed.
I have a 13 years experience working with the school district 191. Working as a cultural liaison, also BTO member and volunteer. I also work at 196 at the Equity and Inclusion team, which is called a CFA, which is the Cultural Family Advocate. So working with this loan of advocating the community of the diverse community, and also particularly the community who really need a representation. So I have a lot of experience in, and I can bring a lot of things on the table, being a school board member.
Tony Connor.
Thank you. Well, besides my skills working in the school system over the past almost 11 years, I have also had a lot of training besides just my college training in ongoing courses in psychology and social work, dealing with foster children, working with counselors and advocating, as I said before, for them as a parent, and then also on the other side as someone who actually worked in the school system. So I have years of experience on both sides of the issue of the school system as a parent. So I understand the strides that parents may struggle with as far as in trying to maintain and get their children's needs met through the school system. And I also see it on the school side where I feel we need to do a little better reaching out to families and try to understand what are these distractions that are keeping children from reaching their optimal goals, because there's a lot of outside distractions that keep them from learning, and that's what I'm interested in trying to conquer. And my main focus is adding some additional electives that I'd like to, these are some of my ideas that I'd like to introduce to the school board if elected, that will help kids have tools to be able to use to better their education and be successful in learning and get rid of some of these outside distractions. I feel that's so important, and that's what's going to help them succeed, and that's what it's all about.
The third question will go first to Tony Connor. What are the 2 or 3 strengths that this district has that it could be proud of, and why?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. What are the 2 or 3 strengths of which this district can be proud, and why?
I feel one of the strengths is they are really trying to, there's room for growth, of course, but they do understand that there is a cultural that is a cultural gap, and that the school system is so diverse, and that we are not seeing the role models for this diversity. So I think the county, or this district rather, is very aware of that, and I'm glad to know that they are. So that is one of the strengths, that they're just aware of this issue. And the other strength is I see the teachers working very hard and going out of their way and working extra hours in their day to meet the needs of the students. They just can't do it all. I see we have a shortage. I think I have some ideas of why and maybe what can counteract that. But those are things to be proud of, these dedicated teachers, and just being aware that there is a cultural gap, which we need to do a little bit better job of striving to meet.
Anna Werb.
Well, I'm very proud of the curriculum at the high school as far as readiness for after going on to college. They've done great work in creating programs to prepare high school students for after graduation. And I think we should be very proud of that. And it doesn't get enough kudos. So that's one thing I think we can be very proud of. And I'm also very proud of our diversity. And that should be, you know, one of our top, you know, strengths that we list, because we're a real world, we reflect a real world culture within our school district. And then thirdly, I think that our Pathways program that we've developed now, I think is a really strong program that, you know, identifies strengths in children and allows them to focus on areas that they're good at. And I think that's another strength of our curriculum right now too, that they should be proud of.
Put Ahmed.
Okay. They should be proud of them. Those dedicated teachers who's willing to do, like my kids, they went to Gideon Bond and now they attend 196. So the kids from coming 191 to 196, 196 is always saying they get the highest score of the ACT test or the MCA test. So they should be proud of that. And second, they should be proud of trying to at least closing the gap, even though there's going to be a lot of work, but still they're trying to close the gap.
Eric Miller.
Well, this is an excellent question, because unfortunately, I think we spend too much time dwelling on, at least in public forums, the negatives in our district. Unfortunately, of course, I'm going to probably echo some themes that are already been brought up, but number one is the diversity in our community. We are made up of many diverse but groups that come together in our school system, and it's been a fantastic experience for our kids. And it teaches them what the real world is like out there outside of our some of the very closed, tighter communities that we sometimes live in. The second thing I would mention definitely is our teachers. We have an extensive background. Some of the most experienced teachers in the South Metro area work in our district, and the longest tenured teachers work in our district. You know, that just goes unnoticed, unfortunately, too often. And lastly, I would say that it's all about what we pour into our students in this district. From the Pathways program that Anna mentioned, where our kids are getting opportunities to look at things other than the traditional path that might lead them to college. They looking at culinary programs. We have a top-notch culinary program at our high school. Small engine repair. We run a credit union, a fully functioning credit union at our high school. We have nursing, teaching programs. And then across the district at all levels, we put more money into the well-being and the development of our kids than any district around us. And that we should be exceptionally proud of. Thank you.
Sue Said.
I think this is a great question. I think Eric did mention really well that we tend to kind of focus a lot on what can be done better, what are the negativity that we are hearing or want to change. But there's a lot of strengths happening in our district, especially from when I went here to now what my girls are attending. Number one thing for me, I think the highest strength are educators. We have educators that really try their very best to connect with students. And when you have a 14-year-old going to a junior high and say, Mom, you know, my homie, and that homie is a teacher. And the fact that, they can have these type of relationships and connect it back to, how they act around their friends and have that relationship. I think it's amazing to have that dynamic of relationship between a student and a teacher so they can, work well together and be able to have that comfortable level to address each other in that fun way, because I don't think I had that growing up. I don't think I could call a teacher a homie. But the point is just the communication has gotten so much better. And I think educators here are top notch, and I appreciate everything they do. The pathways, now that it's going to be offered in each school, that is, the best thing that can happen to our district is each school having a pathway. The Gifted and Talented program, or GTI, that's being offered to many students during the summer. That's another great thing. And just our Diamond Head Education Center, giving community members, parents, and students, things to do, whether it's during the summer or after school, joining chess, things like that. Our district is really taking off, and we can bounce on those things and continue to foster it and grow it and bring many ideas to the table. So I'm pretty excited that we can continue these sprints.
The next question goes first to Anna Werb. What are the 2 or 3 issues that this district must address and why?
So I think first and foremost, we do need to address the declining enrollment. I think we need to start bringing families back. I mean, that's one of the largest reasons we've had such a shortfall in our budget. And we need to focus on what we can do to attract families back to 191. The budget too is second. I think we've had budget issues, and I think there's some things we can look at uniquely to try and address those issues. I'm like Sue. I like to research and find interesting and out of the box ways to address things. And education is not so much out of the box type of thing to, people like to think out of the box, but, sometimes, you have to shift your mindset to get to something new and different. Even though it may not feel comfortable at first, you might have to try something different. And then third, I do feel very strongly that we need a much more robust racial equity policy. I think our students, staff, and all of 191 deserves that. Thank you.
Put it on Ahmed.
Yeah, I agree with Anna. And other thing, we have to have somebody like everybody on the table. And the most critical is why we having the decline in enrollment. We have to acknowledge that there's a systemic issues. Without acknowledging there's a systemic issue, why we having a budget issues, why we having a decline in enrollment, we cannot fix that. So first we have to acknowledge, reflect ourselves why this has happened, then we can find a solution for. Second is the budget. So we need to figure out why the budget is also.
Sue Said.
Oh my gosh, I think we're going to hear budget all over. But yeah, budget. I think the one important thing that I think we should can do better is help parents understand a little bit of how that really works, right? Because we all know if the students do well, then we can play around with the budget, and we can that test scores kind of determine all these things. And I think parents need to be educated about that so they can be involved in this process. It can't be, the district knows all these things and the educators know all these things, but the parents also have to be in the loop, especially the parents that are in the more of the minority community. I need to understand a little bit better of how that education system works and what is this budget that we keep talking about. So that is an important thing that we need to get better on. The second thing that I can think of is making sure that we're able to find creative ways. Like Anna said, like some things are going to be hard to start with, but I think once we're able to break the mold and bring in some creative ideas, then we're able to make a change and see a change, especially with the student enrollment decline that we've been having. I know a few years ago, there were surveys that were sent out to parents that left the district. So for me, I'm like, well, why don't we take those surveys that I know they've been probably reviewed or looked at, but establish a small task, a small group that can look at these surveys and find out what are the highest things that parents or families are moving away from the district, and what can we do better? What ideas can we formulate? And I think it's important to just kind of start there and build a task force to kind of look at that, whether it's the volunteers from the community or not.
Tony Kiner.
Okay, thank you. One of the issues I feel that the district needs to address, well, the main issue, I should say, of course, is students. What the students need, what's going to make them successful. Kind of echoing on what Sue said, don't mean to be redundant, but that is true. We really need to hone in on the students and get them educated as far as what's distracting them, get their test scores up so that they can do a better job, make sure we have electives that help them with life skills. And I guess I'm not as familiar as Eric with all the things that they do offer in the high school, because I know in another district I worked, they weren't offering a lot of things that I took in high school that I thought were very fundamental to life, not only in school, but after school, after you graduate. I mean, actual life skills. And so I'm glad to hear that Burnsville High is offering some of those electives. That's awesome. I still have a few more that I think kids need, basic needs. Like I said, emotional health, life skills, other life skills, which I go into more detail, and I'll tell you about that later. So that's my main thing. When the students are enticed into learning, then they will be more excited about it. Hopefully they can get better test scores, and that's going to automatically bring people in, because students will be excited and tell their friends and cousins, oh, I like my school because this is going on and I'm really doing well, and the teachers are helping and the educational assistants are helping, and I'm really getting what I need. That's what's important. Also, we need to piggybacking on what you said, Sue, that the parents need to know that that is how the budget grows. That's how we can use the funds in the budget, by getting this test scores up for the students. They need to understand how that works. And then lastly, that's it. Just those main two things. Thank you.
Eric Miller.
Thank you again. And one of the unfortunate disadvantages of having the experience I've had in the district is being very aware of what issues face us and what's gone before us and what we can do in front of us. But one of the top things that I have talked about for years now is the enrollment issue. We're acutely aware of that. We, Sue, we ran the surveys. We in fact did actually a pretty deep dive into them and had a report given to us. And we have our communications department tasked with a team working on that. But it continues to be an ongoing effort. It's a PR issue. It's an issue of helping people understand what's happening with the Pathways program through at the high school and down through what's happening with all of the resources. The fact that, again, our children in our district get the best resources available to them. I know for a fact that my kids would get programming right now that they would not be able to get in neighboring districts around us. But families just don't understand that, and they need to be told that and over repeatedly. And of course, the budget is a big challenge for us. We've been at this now for a number of years. Every year it gets tougher and tougher. We've done a lot of creative ideas and things early on to keep away from cutting into the deeper parts. And unfortunately, we've gotten to those cuts. What I would say, though, for my candidacy is that I've been at that table now for a couple of rounds and a couple of years. I know what it takes to make those hard decisions. And unfortunately, for all the creative ideas I'm sure that everybody will bring to the table, what you're going to end up doing is cutting a program that you are closely related to, that you know somebody that's involved with, that you have friends or kids that are involved with, and it's the unfortunate part of it. The solution there is better finding ways to fix that, but also better funding from the state. That's where it starts at. That's our main problem. Thank you.
The next question goes first to Hodan Ahmed. If elected, what would you hope would be the key accomplishments of the board during your years of service?
My goal is if I get elected, is to create a communication and relationship between the families and teachers. Not just the relationship, but also lasting relationship. Also hiring more staff of color, because like we know, we're losing a lot of staff of color over the years. They run out the door. We need to find out why. So my goal is to hire staff of color and also create the relationship.
Anna Webb, or Werb, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I would really like to develop a racial equity council made up of community members, parents, teachers, to keep us accountable for racial equity policies that we create in the district. I also would like to start looking at the community school model in our district and possibly have that model be presented as an option, because I feel strongly that that is a model that may attract new families to our district because of the way that it treats the whole student as their whole health, as opposed to just looking at them as being just the student. It's looking at making sure that their mind, body, everything is functioning so that they can learn properly. It takes in, different programs from the community and puts it inside the school. I've been doing a lot of research on that model, and I feel like it's something that we would benefit from greatly. It especially closes achievement gaps. So I would hope that, that would be something I could bring forward as a board member, as well as, hopefully striking a balance on our budget somehow. Thank you.
Eric Miller. Eric Miller.
Again, thank you. I'm going to, turn this question up around a little bit, because I do feel that it's important that board members lead the district, but it's also important to understand that board members are in a role of governance and not supervision or management of the district. And as such, we set policy, we set budget, we hire the superintendent, and then we delegate our authority down to the superintendent and to the district and to the to lead forward and accomplish the policies that we've set out. In that role, we have to come together and agree on what the future of the district looks like, and then speak as one voice. And that something I'm extremely proud of this board. It was put in place by members before me. It was carried through with members that have since left this board, and our current arrangement of the board has continued this practice. We often get together, we often share ideas, and we often have disagreement and counterpoint conversations. But at the end of the day, we're strong in our unified voice, and to me, that would be one of the best accomplishments at the end of my board term service, whether it's now or in the future, that I could say that I served on a board that worked to a mutual position and to a collaborative solution to solve problems and get the work of the district done, and get the direction of the district set so that the administration can do the work of the district. Thank you.
Sue Said.
I think the key accomplishments for me during my first years of service with the board. Definitely now, in the times that we are in, we're all, COVID-19 overhaul, right? It's all COVID-19. And I want to make sure that, certain families and kids do not fall in the cracks, right? That this whole online learning hybrid works for all kids and is equitable. So that's one thing that I do want to at least keep my focus on until we're done with this pandemic, and making sure that equity is there for all children. Another thing is, educators, I think, are the ones that know our children the best, right? And being able to give them the opportunity to discuss ideas and decisions, to collaborate with them, and have them part of this, because without their ideas, without them hearing our proposals, we're kind of falling apart. And I hope to kind of engage that, so we can all concentrate on the most important thing, which is our children and the students and how far they will get in life. So I do want to make sure those things are heard, at least in the first years of my service, if I'm elected.
Tony Connor.
Thanks. The key accomplishments I would like to see my first year, if I win the election and I'm on the school board, a seat on the school board, I would like to try to, what's the word? I guess, well, I'm just going to say entice other role models of teachers. Instill in other teachers in different districts that we need role models that reflect the diversity of our community. And I have ideas and to share with the school board of maybe how we can entice those teachers to come into our district. I have several ideas on that. So that's one of my accomplishments I would like to do. And then, of course, to just continue to meet, to share some also ideas of electives to continue to meet the needs for these students, a larger group of students that I feel are falling through the cracks for different reasons. And we just want to meet all their needs so we can get more students and we can stop this decline and actually get students and parents, families, more intrigued to want to come into this district. I believe we can be a real leader. That's what I see as a forecast, and that would be one of my key accomplishments I'd like to see happen.
Okay, the sixth question will go first to Eric Miller. What do you believe are the most important characteristics of an effective school board and of an effective school board member?
Certainly. So I started talking a little bit about this previously, and I'll just expound on it. An effective school board is one that respects each other's opinions, that works collaboratively and listens to each other's inputs and comes to a mutual consensus that we can advance and move forward. This is so important because it creates a unified voice of leadership in the district that then is communicated out to the administration and to the teachers. They know that the direction is clear and that we have their back and that we're supporting what the efforts that we're asking them to do. In an individual school board member, I think it's important that they are listening to the community, listening to the stakeholders involved in all the conversations, that they do their research. And frankly, I think a lot of people misunderstand what's involved with being a school board member. They'll tell you that it's a couple of meetings a month. It's frankly quite considerably more than that. I have done the 6-7 hour meetings that go to midnight, which is not unfortunately too unusual. The early morning meetings before work to quickly get something done. The extensive additional meetings in between, the offsite workshops and training sessions. And so it's a commitment. It's a commitment to your community. It's a commitment to service. But along the way, you have to learn, to listen and collaborate with your fellow board members. Thank you.
Hold on, Ahmed.
It's important to have the open and have the hard conversation. Also, you have to listen the need of the community, and also value with your board members and their opinion. Value each other's what are we saying? If I come up and saying this is and this is what we need to do for this community, we have to value each other's opinion. Thank you.
Tony Connor.
Yes, I think one of the most important characteristics, as Eric said, is to be able to get along with your fellow school board members, as far as respecting their opinions, listening to others, and then, like he said, having one voice in the end. It's not hard to do. We just, but anyway, I've had practice in this with other committees I've been on. Now sometimes it can get a little testy, but it's very doable, especially when you have the same goal in mind. As long as everyone has the same goal in mind, we should all be able to work together. That's very important. I also feel that communication with parents is very important. Parents as a whole is in the community. Some parents are not as involved, but others would be more involved if they understood what was going on and some of the challenges. So I feel if we were a little more open to what we're dealing with, maybe parents would be more involved and they would talk to state representatives so that we could try to get some funds to better our schools. That's very much needed. And though I am a little, I am very naive about what all goes on because this is all very new to me. I am so excited about learning. I feel I'm very open-minded. I feel that's a good characteristic to be open-minded and ready to learn, listen, and just be prepared to continue on this journey and learn as I go.
Anna Werb.
I'll just, be reiterating a few things that have already been said, but for sure, collaboration, I think, is key, and open-mindedness for sure. I think you have to be innovative as a team and be willing to also have integrity, as well as being empathetic to others in the district that you're going to hear from, as well as far as parents, teachers, but also be able to ask questions and get down to the issues, because you have to have understanding, I think, and it's important to ask the right questions. A lot of times you need to, not everybody is on the same wavelength. So you have to be able to, make sure everybody is of the same understanding. I think that's sometimes how disagreements form, because maybe, somebody said something and the other person didn't understand the way they said it. And you just have to get down to the understanding of what they meant. So it's, basically having the know-withal to be able to do that, and just be humble. I think you have to be humble. What we're doing is a service to our community, and I think it's a great service because we're serving students. So thank you.
Sue Said.
Most important characteristic to be an effective school board member for me is to understand my community members and the people that I'm serving. If I'm walking around and thinking that everyone lives the way I'm living, nothing gets changed and nothing gets accomplished. So I want to be able to be that voice for many of the families who really are not might not be able to communicate what they want from a school district, or maybe they're not getting the same information that their neighbor or a friend would get. So making sure that I'm able to walk in someone else's shoes, no matter the color of their skin, the education background they have, whatever the circumstance is, being able to really listen, but listen to not reply, but really listen to take those ideas, their concerns to the board and be their voice, because our job is to be a service for them. And, I think we have, amazing candidates that are running for board, and all their ideas as far as being innovative, collaborating, open-minded, all the things they mentioned are important, but we do all need to be able to work for a common goal, which is a prospering community, and that education that meets what every child wants to get out of this world, and that all the leaderships and all the CEOs that are in our nation, it starts with us. It starts with our communities, and to give every child that opportunity to go to the boardroom as leaders. And I think that's just something that we can all take with us, that these kids are dependent on us.
The seventh question will go first to Sue Said, and here it is. As school districts during the pandemic have had to move to more technology-based learning, how well do you think ISD191 has been in implementing distance learning? What more should the district be doing to support technology infrastructure in schools, homes, and elsewhere in the community?
I must say our district is one of the few districts that has prepared pretty well when it comes to the technology sector of it. And that's due to the last levy that was passed. I think it was the timing of all that and the hard work that went towards getting technology for every child. I'm so glad our district was able to put funding into that and get that applicable to every child, because there are other districts in our state. There are, other states who are having that hard time of getting tablets and laptops to students. As far as what could be done or to support the schools and homes, I definitely think that parents want to be involved. Those who can be involved want to be involved, and we want to be able to give them the tools they need to succeed with their child, right? Whether it's giving them their own training and how to navigate the internet, how to navigate the Zoom meetings, how to navigate Seesaw and all the tools that they use in our district. What I realized working when I was a workforce development specialist, I was teaching a lot of classes, and one of the classes I was teaching was computer class. Like, it was just a basic computer class. And I noticed that a lot of people in our community do not have the basic needs of how to use that computer, right? So it starts with us in our district to make sure parents are able to help out if needed, or if they want to. And then also supporting our teachers, especially the online learning teachers. They do have a lot of students in the class, but we also need to kind of help out and give out, be able to support them with staff that can help them in class and meet with those students that need the help.
Eric Miller?
Thank you. Yes, as was said, I know this is a tough question, and I know that there's a lot of people that are not having the experience that they expect from school, and that simply is because of the dynamics we're forced into in the unique environment. Having said that, this district is doing a far better job at this than any district around us, and any district, a lot of districts in the state for that matter. And that primarily starts with thanking the voters, for the levy that was passed a number of years ago, the technology levy that gave us, frankly, an unplanned for kickoff towards this, because of course we did not predict this to be happening, but it put those devices into the hands of our kids and allowed us to go to a one-to-one device rotation in March so that we could get out and get the kids online learning. I know at the end of the school year was not advantageous. It was not great. It was basically, frankly, a stopgap measure to try to get through the end of the year. But then our administration and our teachers primarily doubled down over the summer, and they put together a plan that launched this fall with our hybrids and our virtual academy situations, that learning environments that have been outstanding and amazing. I understand that some of the classroom sizes in virtual academy are not what we expect. And that is not where we want to be, and nor is it where we will be in the long run. It's because of shortage of availability of teachers, having to move teachers around, and staffing issues. Assignments of teachers in a district is one of the more difficult things you can do. And as families make the jump back and forth, we've had to rotate and adjust with that. But I'm proud of what we're doing. And of course, we have more opportunities to improve upon that, and we will do so. We're listening, we're observing, our students come first, and we're making absolutely sure in this district that they're getting taught. But I think we're doing an excellent job. And we're in fact planning on rolling Virtual Academy forward in a long-term model as a permanent part of this district. Thank you.
Anna Werb?
I do agree. We've done exceptional with the changes that we've made since the spring. We've upped our game. We've had some, great things that have come out of what we learned from the things, the challenges in the spring. I can attest to that personally. We had a device that wasn't working, and we got it exchanged out for a new device within a day. And all, by just calling the technology hotline. I've even spoken directly with our technology director for the district, and she's amazing. So, I think we are doing a great job, and, I will echo that, there's going to be improvements. As with anything brand new, you're going to always have things that you're going to tweak along the way. Like when you roll out like a new operating system or anything that's new, it's like you're going to find little things as you go that you're going to need to tweak and perfect, because that's just part of the learning process. I'm thinking about things like how are we using like our cultural liaisons right now to maybe reach out to the students that may have challenges with devices, and making sure that they are getting connected. And those are the things I'm thinking about, as well as teacher burnout. I was reading some things in some labor union news about the amount of hours teachers are working right now doing this virtual learning. So I think we need to think about things long-term as far as how we can help our teachers so they don't get into some burnout from all the hours they're putting in and having to do virtual learning. And that should be addressed in the long run for any continuation of this virtual and distance learning.
Tony Connor?
Thank you. Yes, I agree. I think we got sucker punched with this COVID-19. And I think the teachers, the administration, everybody rose to this terrible pandemic, and they really, I mean, like quickly did an excellent job of getting school plans for the kids in the spring when this first broke out, and getting their Chromebooks working. A lot of them were not working. IT was good with that. They had to replace a lot of them. They got them in the hands of us. Well, we had ours, but they moved so quickly. I was just totally blown away and impressed at how well they came up with a curriculum that, of course, was not perfect. But like I said, we got sucker punched. But they did a wonderful job. I was really impressed. And then, as Anna said, over the summer, they tweaked things and learned from their mistakes and learned what will work better, and just put together a really awesome program for the fall. Of course, it's not perfect because this is not the ideal way of teaching, but it's pretty darn good. And especially, as Eric said, compared to other districts, I mean, we're doing an excellent job in that area, and I'm really impressed with it and also very happy. Again, not only is IT working, but teachers are working extra hours, and I'm just proud of them. I hope they don't burn out from it, because they do love it and have a passion for it, as the other educators, the tutors and the educational assistants. But there's only so much you can do. But I'm just so proud of the advancement that they're making with the students and trying to really keep them engaged in learning under these conditions and circumstances. It's really hard on the kids, but we're doing a really good job.
Hodanavin.
Yeah, the district is doing the best, and like everybody said, and given the devices for every kid also, and have a technology available. And also I have some friends who are 191, have a kid that's a 191. They get a daily phone calls, Zoom meeting with their student teachers doing the phone calls. They doing a Zoom, daily Zoom. They doing everything they can, but there's always we need an improvement. So those family, working family, single moms, a family who has a language barrier, we need an improvement from that area.
Thank you. And now for the last question of the evening. This question will go first to Anna Werb. And here it is. What responsibilities, if any, should school districts assume for dealing with such societal problems as poverty, hunger, emotional illness, or drug abuse?
I believe that they should have responsibility. I mean, this is where I feel the community school kind of plays a part, because a lot of those services that are integrated into the school can address those needs. When a child comes to school, you don't know what their background, I mean, you get a feel for what their background is, but the background shouldn't matter. That we should have those services available to address those needs so that they can learn without having to worry about where their next meal is going to come from. If they're having, stressful issues at home, they should have all these services available to them that are given to us from our community, that those resources are there, because the student deserves to be able to learn in a healthy environment without having to have any of those social determinants of health interfere with their learning. And as a community, as a society, we should be coming together to figure those problems out. And that's, how we do it, by being a community and building those resources within the school and taking care of our children so that they can learn without barriers.
Tony Connor.
Okay, thank you, Mary. I believe in the grade schools, the elementary schools, that teachers and the paraprofessionals have to kind of pick up on the signs of these type of things and advocate for the children, because they are younger and they're not always so forthcoming. You more so have to see the signs as opposed to them telling you. I mean, some will, and then as they get in middle school and high school, that's, I believe, the job of the counselors and social workers. I've noticed in some schools I've worked, they don't work full time or anything. They're not there every day, but that's why they need role models that look like them, that they can feel comfortable in talking to, that understand their plight, understand the family composition, understand the culture of what they're going through. Not that and we can't all understand, we're all humans, but sometimes kids need that extra comfort as seeing a role model that they can go to and express their feelings, so that we can try to counteract some of these things. All it usually takes is communication between a social worker, counselor, the student, or a para, to talk to a parent and the child and get some of these problems solved. I've seen it done. I've been in it. I've experienced it over the years, and it can be done.
Sue Said.
Oh, this is a great question. I mean, we all agree that education does not happen if any of these societal problems are present in a home, right? So as educators and as community members, I think it's very important that we're able to pick up on these certain things that might bring education barriers for some families. I think that we kind of get caught up in, we're not in the inner city. There's a suburbia kind of world, but there are families who are struggling in a suburbia world, and we need to be able to address that, but also making sure that the children that do have these type of societal problems at home are given that opportunity to address it with someone that they might be close with. Especially teachers get to hear a lot of that, but teachers already have so much on their plate, right? We want them to teach our children the curriculum and the important things for them to graduate and move on with life. So I know with our current budget, we did really emphasize the priority-driven approach, which was more social workers, counselors, and cultural liaisons. And I think we need to continue that growth and also support those three committees to really work with our students and dealing with some of these issues. I believe in making school a hub where parents can reach out and get help on what they need at that time. And we're able to give them what they need right there at the school rather than sending them to one location to another, more of like a one-stop shop. I think we're capable of that. There are some schools in our country that does that stuff, and it really works out really well. And I know at being a social worker, a lot of these things I've heard that are impacting families. Not education is not number one for families who are worrying about what to put on the table, right? Or have that emotional distress they go through. So I really want to make sure we are looking at all those ideas and taking care of those issues.
Hold on, Ahmed.
Yeah, and we should not depend on the teachers because they already have enough and they plates. So on those things, we should be coming as a community. We invite the community leaders, faith leaders, and come together and figure out how can we help the student. I wish there won't be any student who need to worry about what I'm gonna eat tomorrow or what I'm gonna eat when I go home. I mean, that breaks my heart, but we're not in that perfect world. But we have to come together as a community and figure out how can we help those kids, those little ones who worry when they go home, what I'm gonna have tomorrow for breakfast, when I'm gonna have lunch, or when I'm gonna have supper. So thank you.
Eric Miller.
Thank you. By design, this is a tough question, and it unfortunately has tough answers. The primary responsibility of a school district is to educate the children, but we can't do that if they're coming to school hungry, if they're worried about what's happening in the home, if they're suffering from other outside distractions and painful events in their lives. And we recognize that we have for a long time in this school district. As I mentioned earlier, we put more priority and more resources into our students, whether it is, as mentioned, cultural liaisons, school psychologists, emotional well-being of the children. We're doing that already, and we need to continue to do that. We talked about budget cuts earlier. Unfortunately, when we have reached a point in those conversations, sometimes we have to look at what, if we're back to that primary resource of teaching educating our students. I don't know of a single teacher that went to college to become a teacher with the idea of becoming a child psychologist. They wanted to go and teach children. And unfortunately, they've had to step into those roles. So it's a combination of resources as we have tried to pour them into the students in our community, to be mindful of what that means for the long-term viability of our district. And sometimes we have to work through partnerships, which we've fostered and grown in this district also. Partnerships with third-party organizations, partnerships with our county and state and city organizations. Everybody realizes that we're in this together, but at the end of the day, those kids cannot learn, and then that's our primary responsibility. They can't learn if they're dealing with issues like poverty, hunger, emotional illness, or drug abuse. And so it becomes something we have to assume and deal with. Thank you.
It's time for closing statements now. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement, and we'll begin with Eric Miller.
Well, thank you again to the League of Women Voters for taking the time to put this on, and to Mary Rice for moderating. And thank you to you, the voter, for taking the time to learn a little bit more about this race and the candidates. You get the opportunity to cast 3 votes by November 3rd, and I'm asking for one of those votes. I'm asking because I believe my experience is important in navigating the waters ahead of us. If I'm honored with the opportunity to return to service on this board, I'm going to pledge to continue to listen and be a voice for all stakeholders. I'm going to pledge to be transparent and open in my decisions and actions. I pledge to always act in the best interests of our children, even if that's not the easiest path. I pledge to always act with integrity and honesty, and I pledge to work effectively with my fellow board members by respecting the insight and finding consensus through compromise. A director of a school board has a fiduciary responsibility to ensure that the district's resources are used properly within budget, and it's our job to set policy and let the superintendent and the teachers do their jobs. We need experienced financial leadership. I'm also deeply concerned about the growing number of people that are moving out of and rolling out of our district. We need to be open about our change, be honest about challenge, and celebrate wins. Thank you for taking time to learn more about me. If you'd like what you've heard, then I'm asking for your vote by November 3rd. If you believe our district needs experienced leadership, then I'm asking for your vote. To learn more about me, please visit miller191.org. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you. Tony Connor?
Thank you, Mary. I would just like to start off by saying I'm very proud of our district also because I forgot to mention how they partner to help children as far as if there's some economic need with food or other distractions. We have plenty of pantries that they partner with where families can go for help with that and assistance. Also with the Chromebooks and partnering with Comcast and getting hotspots in the home and Wi-Fi where children did not have it already. I mean, those are just excellent ways of how they really, stepped up the plate to, help our children. Again, my idea are some electives to the curriculum to help kids that will entice their learning and just make them successful, because this new generation, there's a lot going on that we're all having to process right now with this COVID. So we must change our old agenda to fit the changing needs of more students. And we as educators and also on the school board, I'm sorry, I still consider myself an educator, but as a school board member, I feel it's my responsibility to try to reach more students also, as I would with as an educator. And that is the main reason why I'm seeking a seat on the school board. I'm very passionate about the issue of helping this generation of students succeed and to be better equipped to the best of their ability to do so. Since I am a person of color, I feel that I can better advocate for this growing population of students in our district. For specific ideas on this curriculum suggestions I have to share with the school board if I'm elected, are outlined in my campaign brochure, available upon request from my website at www.connorcares.com. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time and being with us tonight. I appreciate the Women's League of Voters for putting on this forum for us. And have a good evening. Appreciate your vote.
Thank you. Anna Werb?
Thank you again to the League of Women Voters for hosting this. Thank you, Mary, for moderating. I would like to ask for your vote on November 3rd because I feel I have the passion and the heart to create a more equitable and healthy health policies for our children and students and staff in District 191. I've already been out there advocating for our district for the past couple of years. I'm a district ambassador. I've already been working with the city. I've spoken with Mayor Kautz about the racial equity plan for our city. I'm very much invested in this community and our ethnicity and diversity. And I want to see our community grow and our district grow. I know that if we work together as a community, as parents and partners, that we can see great things happen in this district. As being a member of the PTO and getting to know the teachers and the staff at William Byrne Elementary School, I've seen what it's like to grow from a PTO of 3 people to 30 people. And that was just from finding resources with just in our own small community here where my kids go to school. And I can only imagine what we could do if we expand it to the entire district, what we could accomplish together. Because together we are 191. So I ask that if you will just vote for me on November 3rd, and thank you.
Thank you. Hodan Ahmed?
I'm asking you to vote in November because I believe every child should receive a quality education like my kids had. So, and also I believe because we are diverse community and district, we should have a representation for everybody.
Thank you. Susaid?
Well, thank you for having us here, LWV. I really do appreciate the forum and being able to speak with voters because I know there are many things in households right now, many troubles in households because of the pandemic. And I want to let you know that I understand what you're going through, and I want to be able to amplify any voice that could help you meet the goals and self-sufficiency that you want for your child. I believe in that it takes a village to raise a child, and if we don't work together, we're gonna not help any of our children. And we need to be able to have those tough conversations, ask those hard questions, and without that criticism, and being able to come up with ideas that work for all of us, because again, this is not going to work without all of our hands and ideas in the pot. I think there's many fear in some families when it comes to any type of change in our community, but I hope that you can see me as an example of how far our community has come, and my knowledge and my openness and my empathy and everything that I am today is mostly because of this district, mostly because of the great people that I met through this community. And as long as we are reaching out to the next neighbor or meeting that new parent that's new to the school or that new student, I think that we can really break a lot of bridges that way. I always tell my daughters, if you see a new student, I need you to be able to reach out to them and say hello and invite them to sit by you or hang out with you sometime outside. So we as parents need to also take that lead and learn from our children and take the lead for them and change our ways to have a better community.
Thank you. And thank you, candidates, for your time, your dedication, and your thoughtful answers to the questions we asked you tonight. Thank you to the viewers for your interest and for having submitted questions. Thank you to Burnsville Community Television for providing technical expertise. The video of tonight's event will be shown on the local access channels, Comcast channels 859 HD, 16 SD, BCTV Facebook, BCTV online, and on Roku devices using the free PEG TV app. Just search for Burnsville. Thank you to all the volunteers who worked to make this forum happen tonight. Information on voting in Dakota County can be found at lwvdakotacounty.org and minvotes.org. That's lwvdakotacounty.org and minvotes, MNVOTES.org. Information on candidates can be found at vote411.org. Remember to vote on Tuesday, November 3rd, or any time from now through November 2nd by absentee ballot. Good night, everyone.